Hello, I'm Melanie Meren. I am elected to the Fairfax County School Board in Virginia. I serve a portion of the county called the Hunter Mill District. There are 9 districts in Fairfax County, and Hunter Mill includes mostly the Madison Pyramid in Vienna, including the town of Vienna, the South Lakes Pyramid, including all of Reston, and bits of students that go to the high schools of Herndon, Oakton, Marshall, and Westfield, as well as a few others, because we on the school board and at the county level, we represent people depending on where they live. So if you live in Hunter Mill, but you might go to school, say, at Luther Jackson Middle School, which is in a different district, I'm still your representative. And actually, most people in Fairfax County at any time don't have students in the schools, but that's okay because our public schools are for everyone. People come to our schools to not only go to school, but also to work, and to maybe they play sporting events or have community meetings. So I really try hard to do what's best, of course, for our students and our staff, but also for people in the county. So Fairfax County is big, and hopefully you don't notice it too much because we like to have really connected communities. But Fairfax County is actually the 9th largest school division in the United States of America. We serve 181,000 students across 25 high school pyramids, and that's 200 buildings. We have 200 buildings. And that amount of money that we manage of those buildings is $8.7 billion, with a B, dollars. We also, every year, I have to approve an annual budget, so how much money that the school division will spend each year, and it's generally about $4 billion. So if you want to know how I help the schools, I help ensure that the money is spent on the things that are going to best educate our students and ensure that they have the best school experience they can and get what they need and graduate ready to move on to their most successful selves. We also employ 25,000 full-time staff. So I also am responsible for ensuring that our staff get the salaries and pay and compensation that they receive for all their hard work, whether it is a teacher, a principal, a custodian, a school bus driver, someone working in our food services department, or people who work outside the school building that work on making sure you have all the materials you need in technology and special events, and making sure that people get paid and the food gets ordered and the buses run. So it's a really big operation, and I feel very grateful that I get to do this job. I do love this job. I feel like this is my jam. It's my passion. I went to school to do work in the government, and particularly in education. So I went to college and got a bachelor's degree in political science, and I also studied biology because I love that kind of science. And then I went to graduate school at Duke University to get a master's degree in public policy. And my first job, my dream job, was to work at the U.S. Department of Education for the federal government. And that has really helped me in my career to understand a lot about what's happening in states and a lot of research about how children learn. I'm very passionate about making sure children read and are literate. Very passionate about outdoor learning. And just passionate about students having the best experience and a fun time and being able to connect with their peers and their teachers and staff. So who makes decisions at the school board? So I do. The board has 12 people, and we are all elected. We're all elected at the same time every 4 years. There's no off year in Virginia. Every year there are elections. Every single November, and sometimes also earlier in the year, there are elections. There's no off year. So if you remember anything about this, please tell your adults. Every year we vote in Virginia, and it is so important because I make a lot of decisions about your experience in school, and there's other county people who make decisions about how we'll have parks, or will our libraries have what we need, are our roads getting taken care of, are we going to have access to medical care and police and firefighters. So all those decisions get made by people like me who are elected. So even though we hear a lot about the presidential election, that is super important, but not nearly as many people vote in those local elections. So this year we're voting for governor and additional seats at the state level, which is so important because the governor ultimately decides how much money we get for our schools, as well as all those other things like I mentioned, the parks and environmental protections and clean air and clean water and just all sorts of stuff. So it's really important to know that every year we have an election in Virginia, and it's an opportunity to have input on who is making decisions on our behalf with our money, which is our taxes. So the information, so the school board is 12 people. We're called we're called a flat board, which means we are all equal in authority and power. We do have a chair, so that's like the head, but we choose it each year. And that's different from the county board where the people elect a chairman, so it's a different role. So as a flat board, we have to work together to make decisions, and we vote. That is how we make decisions, and that is how we direct the superintendent, who is Dr. Michelle Reed, to put things into practice. So we are the boss of Dr. Michelle Reed, although I certainly learn a lot from her all the time, and when we try to work in partnership. But my job and the job of the board is to make sure the superintendent is doing her job. And my job is also to represent you, the community members, because you all are my boss, the voters. And so I just happen to have a passion and expertise in education and policy, but really the board is supposed to be a reflection of what the community wants the school system to do. Doesn't mean the board can always do what the community wants, but we're supposed to have that voice so that when the superintendent goes to, say, pick a new reading curriculum, we can say things like, well, we know that our community really seems to need this, and they want more graphics or pictures. Or maybe I hear from the community, they want to be outside more. Our kids want more recess, right? So we can say to the superintendent, we're going to vote and direct you to figure out a way to get more recess in our schools or to get more outdoor learning in our schools. And we've done that, and I'm really excited that I've helped to do that. So it's a really important job. I do a lot of reading. And all of our meetings are public, except for a small portion that deal with legal things or things related to people's jobs that we are allowed to meet in closed meeting. Otherwise, everything's public. Our materials, our meetings, you can attend. You can watch them they're recorded, they're streamed live. At some of the meetings, you can speak up. So at our Thursday evening regular meetings of the board, we have a portion for public comment where people can sign up, and if spots are available, they can come and tell us something. That's just one way that we get input. So because I represent two main pyramids, the Madison and South Lakes and those other schools, I try and keep real close tabs on those schools. It's about 25 schools. So it's a lot. Luckily, I live in one of the pyramids. It's the South Lakes Pyramid, and I have two children in FCPS. So I get a lot of information in all sorts of ways through that role. As a parent, as someone who goes to events, as someone who's there officially. So I think it's really important that school board members reflect the experiences of the community. So being a parent in the system currently, or maybe a staff member, is really important, so we could share that real world experience as well as all that input with the other board colleagues and make informed decisions about what's really happening. So we will vote. Most votes will just take a majority vote. So if we have all 12 there, it'll take 7. If we have fewer board members there, it will take whatever is needed to get to a majority. If a vote is tied, it fails. We follow something called Robert's Rules of Order, which a lot of boards use, and it's basically just rules about how to do stuff like take votes and take minutes and take turns. And sometimes it's tough because I want to talk, but I have to wait my turn. And there's time limits because there are 12 of us, and if we all spoke for even just 5 minutes, well, I'll let you do the math on that one. But so we speak for 3 minutes, and I've gotten really good at staying in 3 minutes. So it's a real treat to speak a little bit longer today on this video. But it does help me to really hone my thoughts and make sure I'm saying the most important things. I also have to do a lot of listening. And sometimes that's really hard because, again, I want to share my input, or maybe I don't agree with someone. But I've really worked hard to be a listener and to be curious. This is my second term on the board. I was first elected in 2019 and did a 4-year term, so 2020 to 2024. And then my second term, started in 2024, and so I'm in the second year of my second 4-year term. I also do a lot of work at the state level in Virginia to advocate, because we have a really big problem in Virginia where our state is not providing the amount of funding it should be to fund your education. And it's meant that we've had to pay a lot of money here locally in our Fairfax community. And by law, the state's supposed to be providing more. So I've been working for the last year and a half using data from a report that was actually from the state government, which is the General Assembly, which is like Congress in that it has a Senate and a House of Delegates. It's bicameral. But I've been working with my colleagues and advocates to say, hey, how can we get this funding fixed? And I think it's like one of the most important things that I can do and that we can do, because a lot of our challenges in our schools are the result of money. You know, when we have smaller classes, you could talk more with your peers and your teachers. We can do more experiences. We can renovate our buildings so that you have all the best things and the nicest learning spaces and technology that you need. So really, we need to fix this. So I'm working on a project I call Get the Money. And it's interesting. I could talk to a lot of people over Virginia, other school board members, but I do think that working together is how we're going to ultimately make a difference. So again, the state leadership, the elected leaders of that General Assembly, the governor's ultimately going to decide what gets funded. So let's see. So some of the questions I know are on your mind. So how are the schedules for each grade determined? Part of that is from state rules, state standards that say, okay, in fourth grade, the fourth graders in Virginia are going to learn about Virginia history, whereas the second graders are going to learn about nature and monarch butterflies. And that's set so that we have a plan to make sure that students get that content and experience that we think students should need. But in Virginia, we have a lot of local control. So that means that we get to make a lot of decisions. So for instance, the state said we have to teach literacy better. And they said that for everyone. And I agree. I have a son who's dyslexic, and like 20% of the population is dyslexic. And so it's not uncommon. And unfortunately, we haven't been teaching the way that everyone could learn to read. And it helps people who are not dyslexic too. So the state said, you have to do this, but they said, okay, but you can choose the curriculum that you want. And that's going to be benchmark advanced, which I know some people have mixed opinions on. I think it's really good. I think it does the job of helping to, understand and decode words and write. So we do have that kind of flexibility. We can name our schools what we want. We can have whatever food we want. We can set our calendar. So a few years ago, we didn't used to have off for holidays like Nowruz or Eid or Yom Kippur, but now we do because our school division decided that. We also get to decide how to spend our money. So how much we pay our teachers, how much we spend on field trips, when we buy new buses. So there's a lot of that we can do ourselves, and the board ultimately authorizes the spending of that money. The school day schedules are decided by a few things. One of them is transportation. So we have the biggest bus fleet next to a national bus company known as Greyhound. And so moving all the students around takes a lot of precise planning. We have, I think it's 1,300 buses going out each day. So some of those times have to be staggered because we don't have enough buses to pick up all the students and drop them off at once. We also don't have enough drivers. So that's why they're staggered. And the school board is looking at adjusting the middle school start times because they know they're really early, but it takes some time to figure out all those logistics. But I want middle school start times to be later. It's just going to take a tiny bit of time. We just got information about that in December, just a few months ago, so we're still trying to figure that out. Recycling. So recycling is a tough one because it really depends on people understanding what's recyclable, and then people who help take out our trash and recycling knowing where to put it, and then it having the right things in it. So if you live, one community, the rules for recycling there could be different than what's at school. We do have recycling, and then there are some schools that are doing a really strong job with it and are even composting their food waste. And then there's other schools where we need to give more support. So I think that there's other ways to also help the environment in addition to recycling, saying, hey, we don't want to, have as many straws in our cafeteria, or, hey, can we, have a day where we all, bring in a reusable something. Maybe you bring in a reusable bottle for, one day, just every little bit in that practice really helps. So I think we've done a lot to make our school lunch healthy. It's come a long way with the salad bars and foods that reflect different cuisines and cultures. So I think it's pretty good, but I also really like vegetables. So what can I say? So what does my average day look like? I don't have an average day. In fact, I've been trying to plan better to be able to see, have a repeated schedule. But, on a board meeting week, which is why we kind of refer to it, on a Tuesday, I'll have a meeting from 10:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And sometimes I'll have evening things, calls. I talk with my student rep on the school board, the representative, once a month. So we have a call on Tuesday evenings. On Thursday evenings, every other Thursday, we have a public school board meeting, and that starts at 4:30 and can go hopefully not too much later than 11, but it has gone later, and I really don't like that. This particular week, I've been to many schools, sometimes multiples in a day, for a meeting or a visit or a special event or to talk to student group. So there's just so much, and I think that's the best part. The best part is when I get to see students. So thank you for your interest in the school board, and I hope to see you around the community. Please say hi if you ever see me out and about, or invite me. I love to come and see what's happening at school.